Welcome to day 7 of my 10-day bike trip series exploring the shores of Lake Huron and Lake Simcoe in Ontario, Canada. In this segment I'll be riding from the town of Kincardine along the shoreline to Point Farms Provincial Park and also exploring the town of Goderich. Today is Thursday, July 26, 2018, and I woke up this morning at my cousin Patrick's house. Back on day 3 of this trip, my smartphone stopped working, so I've been traveling for the last 3 days without any direct emergency contact with the outside world. Patrick offered me his old iPhone 4, which I gladly accepted. Unfortunately, this 8-year-old device uses a different size of SIM card than my current phone, but there's a cell phone store in Kincardine where I can hopefully pick up an adapter. Since that store doesn't open until 9, I took my time getting ready this morning. 3-year-old Jasper has daycare today, and Patrick decided to take him there in their bike trailer.
I'll go on this side.
Okay, I know, Mommy.
Jasper's 1.5-year-old sister Ellis also came along for the ride. Ellis, what color is that?
Jasper?
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
What color is that? I got my bike all loaded up, and the 4 of us headed to downtown Kincardine together. The temperature this morning is only 23 degrees Celsius, but the humidity is still very high, making it feel a lot warmer than that. We dropped off Jasper at daycare and arrived at the cell phone store just as they were opening. They had the adapter that I needed, so I now have a working smartphone again, which will be handy if I run into trouble over the next 4 days. After saying my goodbyes, I headed out of town along Huron Terrace and then went down Kincardine Avenue to Goderich St. The first 15 kilometers of my ride should be really nice, quiet lakefront roadways like this one. I've now left the municipality of Kincardine and entered the township of Huron-Kinloss. I turned and headed southeast when I reached Concession Rd 10 and had a bit of a hill to climb. I continued southwest to the top of the hill on Lake Range Drive. There's a bit of wind today and it seems to be coming from the southwest, so I've got a headwind to contend with today. At the bottom of this valley is the Pine River, and there's a community called Lurgan Beach at the mouth of it. Lake Range Road curves around to the right here and continues closer to the shoreline. When I reached Concession Rd 2, I turned left and had another hill to climb. If I had instead turned right, it would have taken me into the community of Point Clarke, which is home to the Point Clarke Lighthouse, a Canadian National Historic Site. As I'm now riding away from the lakefront, the scenery has become very agricultural, and I can smell the strong scent of freshly sprayed manure. But otherwise, this road couldn't be any more perfect for riding on. Here I'm crossing over Highway 21 and continuing southeast. This area of the province is known for having strong winds, so fittingly these fields are dotted with lots of wind turbines. Although I can feel a light breeze, the wind is too low to generate electricity right now. I believe these are Enercon E82 2-megawatt turbines. This road has very little traffic, but there was this one giant tractor which passed me. I turned right onto Sideroad 25, which is a gravel road. In order to avoid riding on Highway 21, my route takes me along a zigzag pattern of farmland roads between here and my destination. When I reached Amberley Road, I turned left and continued southeast, and then turned right onto Kintain I. I've now left Bruce County and crossed into Huron County. The township I'm in is called Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh. Looking to the south, I can see lots more wind turbines ahead. Notice that these ones are a different shape than what I saw earlier, and now the wind is picked up and they're all spinning. The time is now around 11 AM and I've traveled about 30 kilometers. Built in 1906, this is the Ashfield Presbyterian Church, which just closed its doors about a month ago. I made a left turn when I got to Belfast Rd and headed southeast again. In case you hadn't already guessed, I'm a big fan of wind turbines. In fact, the icon I've always used for my YouTube channel is a picture of me standing on top of a wind turbine. I made a right turn onto Kingsbridge Line. These turbines are all part of the K2 Wind Ontario project, and there are 140 of them here. Each wind turbine has a nameplate capacity of 2.3 megawatts, and the total capacity of the project is 270 megawatts. These are Siemens SWT 2.3-101 turbines, and they were made in Ontario. The blades were manufactured in Tillsonburg, and the towers were made in Windsor using Ontario steel. These turbines sit 80 meters off the ground, and each blade measures 49 meters long. This building is the former St. Joseph's Kingsbridge Church, built in 1905. Kingsbridge Road terminates at Highway 21, and I rode a short stretch of this busy highway. I turned left when I reached Glens Hill Road and continued my zigzagged route of quieter roads. Many of these secondary roads are not paved, but I've done quite a bit of research in advance to select a route which will minimize my distance riding on gravel. I next turned right onto Kerry's line. My next turn to make is onto Dungannon Rd, which has been very recently paved. I think it's safe to assume this will be the smoothest road of my 10-day trip, and quite a contrast from that gravel I was just riding on. Looking to the north, I can see more wind turbines. These ones are Vestas V80 1.8 megawatt turbines, which were erected about 10 years earlier than the last ones I was passing. The wind has definitely picked up and I can feel it coming steady from the south. Eventually I reached the end of the fresh pavement and the crew was actually still working on laying the asphalt for the intersection where I needed to turn right. Thankfully they were nice enough to stop what they were doing and let me pass through with my bike. The road I've turned onto now is called Cransford Line and I'm heading southwest. This road takes me down into a valley where there's a crossing of the 9 Mile River. The time is now around 1:45 and I've ridden over 50 kilometers now. Even though it was pretty well camouflaged, I spotted this deer from across the field. It doesn't appear to have any antlers, so it must be a female deer. If it was earlier in the year, it would be harder to tell because bucks regrow a new pair of antlers every year, starting in the late spring. Even though I'm sitting at least 300 meters away, she still seems to be aware that I'm watching her. The species of deer that we have here in Ontario are called white-tailed deer. I'm thoroughly enjoying the scenery today. I love the look of a field dotted with hay bales, and the wind turbines in the background make it even better. These ones are more of the K2 Siemens turbines like I was seeing earlier. Cransford Road eventually terminates at Nile Road, where I made a left turn and was back riding on asphalt again. Almost immediately afterwards I turned right onto Loyal Line heading due south. The way these purple flowers are lining both sides of the road, it almost seems like someone planted them. I took a right turn onto Gore Road and headed west. It's now about 1:15 and I'm getting really close to my campground, but I actually haven't stopped for lunch anywhere yet. I made a left turn onto Highway 21, which is also known as the Bluewater Highway. Between here and Kincardine on the route that I've taken, there really haven't been any restaurants along the way. When I get to my campsite, I'll just eat some of the packaged foods that I'm carrying, and then I'll go into Goderich in the evening for dinner. So here I've arrived at the entrance to Point Farms Provincial Park, where I'll be camping tonight. Situated on the land once occupied by the Point Farm Hotel, Point Farms was established as a provincial park in 1970. I stopped at the gatehouse and purchased a camping permit for the night. The campsite I selected is within the area known as the Colborne Campground. When selecting a campsite, I normally aim for ones which are as close as possible to the restroom building and also close to the beach if there is one. After I arrived at my campsite, I unpacked my gear and quickly set up my tent. Adjacent to my campsite, I spotted some wild raspberries growing. I decided to go and check out the beach. Despite selecting one of the closest campsites to it, it's actually a pretty long walk to get there. This is a really nice sandy beach, and the sand feels really hot under my bare feet. There are lots of other people out enjoying the water on this sunny July afternoon. The water felt very nice and warm, and I decided to join them for a quick swim. After my swim, I took a different route back to the campsite, which involved climbing a lot of stairs. After I got back, I hopped onto my bike and headed towards the town of Goderich. The time is now around 3:45 and I have plans to meet for dinner in Goderich at 5 o'clock, but I'm hoping to spend some time exploring the town first. I made a left turn when I reached Highway 21 and headed south. Unlike all the communities I was riding through yesterday, Goderich is a place I've never visited before, so I'm looking forward to seeing it for the first time. Unfortunately, Highway 21 is the only direct link between Point Farms and Goderich, but it's only about 7 kilometers. Over on the right I can see the Goderich Municipal Airport. Approaching Goderich there's a bridge that passed under which was once used by a branch of the CP rail line. That branch has now been converted to a 127 kilometer rail trail known as the G2G Trail, which links Goderich to the city of Guelph. I had a nice hill to ride down and now I'm crossing this bridge over the Maitland River Valley. When I was coasting down the hill I could feel my bike was bobbing up and down slightly. When I stopped to investigate I discovered that the sidewall of my rear tire is starting to fail. I can't be sure of how much longer the tire will last, but Goderich is the largest town I'll be riding through for the next few days, so I'm hoping I can find a replacement here. At the top of the hill I turned right and rode past the Huron Historic Jail built in 1842. Goderich was first settled in 1827 by the Canada Company as a base for the enormous block of land they had purchased known as the Huron Tract. By 1850 the population had already grown to 1,000 and the town of Goderich was incorporated. Something that makes Goderich unique from virtually every other small town in Ontario is that rather than having a main street which runs through it, it instead has a central square with a main street which wraps around in a circle. This central area of town is known by locals as the Square, even though the shape formed by the roadway is actually an octagon. The loop essentially functions like a giant traffic circle, as you can only get onto it by turning right, and all traffic moves in the counterclockwise direction. The middle of the loop contains the Huron County Courthouse and a park which surrounds it. One of the stores within the square is a bike shop, but unfortunately they don't have the type of tire that I need for my bike. I continued my exploration of Goderich by riding down towards the harbour. This building is Goderich Town Hall, built in 1890. I branched off onto Coburg Street to go and see the Goderich Lighthouse. Being that it's built at the top of a big hill overlooking the lake, it's quite a bit different from what I consider a typical lighthouse. From up here there's also a great view of Goderich Mine, the world's largest underground salt mine. The mine reaches 530 meters below ground and stretches 5 kilometers below the lake with a total area of 7 square kilometers. From here, salt is loaded onto large ships and delivered to ports across the Great Lakes for use as de-icing road salt. I'm now making my way down the hill along Harbour Street to check out the waterfront. Unlike Kincardine where I started this morning, there's quite a large elevation drop between where the town is built and the waterfront. These grain elevators are used for storage, shipping and receiving of local agricultural produce. The Goderich Harbour is situated at the mouth of the Maitland River. This is the original Goderich train station built in 1907 and relocated to this site in 2013 where it's been converted to a restaurant. I headed south along the waterfront and then turned around and headed back. From down here you can really appreciate how much higher the lighthouse and the rest of the town are from the waterfront. It's now 4:45 and I headed up to a restaurant just at the top of the hill called Park House. It was once the home of the first commissioner of the Canada Company, and it's the oldest standing structure in town, built in the late 1830s. Patrick drove in from Kincardine with the 2 kids to meet me for dinner. It's really nice getting to spend some more time with them. Before dinner the kids played in the park, and Jasper showed me how fast he can go on his Strider bike. Patrick's wife Kristen works in a town which is close to Goderich, and she came and met us for dinner as well. This park has some sculptures which were carved from the stumps of large trees. In 2011, Goderich was struck by an F3 tornado which caused significant damage all over town. The damaged trees in this park were made into these sculptures as part of a memorial of the tornado. We went into the restaurant and for dinner I ordered the fish and shrimp, which was really tasty. After dinner, the kids played on the swings and we said our goodbyes and went our separate ways. Thanks again to Patrick and Kristen for their generosity and for helping to make my visit to their part of Ontario so memorable. I headed back over to the courthouse square where there was a live band performing. I would have liked to stay longer to listen, but I'm pretty concerned about my bike's damaged tire. Tomorrow will be my longest day of riding on the entire trip, and I won't be passing any major towns or cities, so I'll be in big trouble if my tire fails and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. My bike uses a 26-inch tire with smooth road treads. 26-inch tires are commonly available, but most of them are for mountain bikes and have knobby tire treads meant for riding on dirt. Switching to a tire with knobby treads would certainly slow me down a lot, but I'm also not sure that the bike's frame has enough clearance to accept a tire like that. I was really disappointed that Goderich's only bike shop didn't have what I was looking for, but there's also a Walmart and Canadian Tire in town which are worth at least checking. As you can see, Canadian Tire has no shortage of 26-inch mountain tires, but they also have this tire where the outside treads are knobby, but the inside treads are smooth, which I'm hoping might do the trick. For $23.99, it's at least worth a try. In the same plaza there's a Zara store, so I stopped to grab a few groceries and then got back on the road to return to my campsite. Goderich is labeled Canada's prettiest town, and some claim that Queen Elizabeth once made that comment. There's actually no record that she or any other reigning monarch has ever visited Goderich, but it's a really beautiful and unique town, and definitely somewhere I'd recommend visiting. I made my way back along Highway 21 as the sun was slowly starting to set. I arrived back at Point Farms at around 8:30, and my first order of business is to install the new tire that I bought. The sun is getting close to dropping below the horizon, so I want to make the best use of my remaining daylight. The installation was successful, and when I took the bike for a test ride, the new tire seems to run almost as smooth as the old one. I had a quick shower and then climbed into my tent for the night. Including my adventures in and around Goderich, I traveled a total of 104 kilometers today. Stay tuned for the next installment in this video series where tomorrow I'll ride west passing through Mennonite country in the community of Listowel to Conestoga Lake Conservation Area. I hope you enjoyed joining me on my adventures today. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you thought, and thanks for watching.